And here we are. So, staff, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I think the staff can hear me. Monique, you can hear me, and Inspector,
Yes, I can.
Good afternoon. Yes, I
you
can
can
hear
hear
you.
me as well.
Okay. How's everybody doing today?
Good, thank you.
I'm doing great.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And Prash, how are you doing today? All right. Okay, so today we have with us for Ask Me Anything, and we have Inspector Chris Josiah. He's a detective with the OPP. We have Constable Monique Virgilian. She's with us today as well, and she's one of our officers. And joining us, we also have John Browning just joining us, just came in. So we have quite a number of people joining us today on Ask Me Anything, Brad. So
I
I
know
think
it's
it's popular.
it'll be a good one. Yeah. um, go ahead, staff. I'll let you lead off.
Yes, so this month is a special month. It's Black History Month. February is Black History Month. For our AMA today, we're going to keep it still in line with our recruitment, trying to attract the best of the best, but having the Black History Month on the forefront of this. So, just as a background, every February, people across Canada participate in Black History Month, and so events and festivities that honor, the legacy of Black people in Canada and their communities. And today, we have a few of our members that represent that community, and we're going to hear about their experiences as members of the OPP and what they have to share. And so we're going to speak with them and see what they can tell you, so you can probably consider this career as an OPP officer. Rash?
Perfect. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thanks everybody for joining us. I see people are still joining us, saying hellos and good afternoon. So thank you. Hopefully, the next 1 hour kind of will go over, things that our officers here that we have joining us kind of share in terms of what they did to, forge their path within the OPP organization and what kind of brought them into the policing realm. But why don't we first get started with our first guest? Let's start with Monique. A bit about you, Monique, and how everything you've done or you prepared to bring you here today. A bit about you.
Good morning, everyone. So, my name is Monique Virgilian. I'm a constable with OPP, working out of Toronto HSD. I've been a constable for the past year and a half, almost 2 years. However, I've been with the organization for the past 4 to 5 years. Now, I started off in the organization as a civilian, working out of the CRC. Then I worked my way into the court office, transitioned to a special constable. And then from special constable, I transitioned to the role of a police constable.
So essentially, all the people logging in today, they don't even need to talk to the rest of it. They can talk to you and go from civilian to casual to uniform. You can talk about all the things that you probably share. But go on, Monique. I know you probably have to share other stuff. But go on.
My journey thus far has been absolutely amazing. I've had the opportunity to work with some really, really awesome people, including Parash, Shernette, really great people at Toronto Detachment. Um, yeah, and it's an honor to be on this platform this morning.
Mhm. Well, thank you, Monique. I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions for you as we
Oh
go
yeah.
through this. But we will get Inspector Josiah to give us a little bit of background about his experience as an OPP officer.
Excellent. So first of all, good afternoon, everyone, and I'm glad to see that the chat group is growing and there's more and more people who are logging on. It's great to see because it's initiatives like this that are truly valuable. It's not often where you can have an opportunity to ask officers some candid questions about not only our careers, but also what our pathways were to get into the organization, but also how we navigated the organization because it's very complex.
Mhm.
And I can still appreciate that it's very daunting, especially if you don't have any friends or relatives or acquaintances that are in policing. So I've been known to ramble on a bit, so I won't take too much time. I know time is limited here, but I'll start off by saying that I am kind of on the opposite spectrum of Monique. I have over 26 years of policing experience, but some things that I have similarity or in common with Monique and Jeanette for that is that I started my policing career at Toronto Detachment, which is called Downster Detachment, in
Mhm.
1997. And throughout my career, I've been very blessed. I've had several opportunities to work in different areas of the organization, including criminal investigation. So I was a detective at Toronto Detachment. I was a detective at Caledon Detachment. I also worked in the emergency response team for 5 years. I also worked in our Organized Crime Enforcement Bureau. I worked in our wiretap unit for over 6 years and our Provincial Operations Intelligence Bureau for 2 years. And then for the last 3 years, I've been working in criminal investigations branch as a detective inspector, major case manager, investigating major cases like homicide, robberies, abductions, serious cases like that. So it's been very valuable, very rewarding. My pathway to the OPP was, I guess, unique in some ways because I grew up in a government family. So both my parents worked in government, provincial and federal government, not in policing specifically, but I was exposed to government. My grandfather was a police officer from Antigua. I was born and raised in Canada, but my family is from Antigua. So I had a different perspective on policing from a international perspective, and I was able to bring that to my role as an OPP officer. And like I said, it's been a rewarding career. So I'm going to just stop there and I'll invite some more questions. But I just wanted to say how happy I am to be here and to participate in this and to take on your questions. So I'll turn it back over to you, both Prash and Jeanette.
Well, the theme of actually this month's celebration of Black History Month is a journey of service, and you started talking about the journey and your service that you've given to the OPP and your community. So you weren't rambling at all. You were just sticking to the theme, and then right. So it's a lot of information there that you can definitely share. And so,
Yeah.
go ahead, Prash.
No, no. I was going to say, we usually get a lot of questions about the crime route, or
Yeah.
what people need to do to kind of set themselves up eventually down the line after they become an OPP officer. Like, ideally, today's the best day for that. You can actually ask Inspector Josiah about that and what you can do to really make yourself competitive to pursue that line further on into your career. So yeah, thank you for that, Inspector.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have Sergeant John Browning on the with us today as well. So he's here to share some insights about his journey.
Very good. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm John Browning. I'm a Staff Sergeant Manager in our Communications and Technology Services Bureau. So joined the OPP back in 1994. And, again, very blessed to be able to join the OPP back at that time. Because just prior to that, the OPP wasn't hiring. So all of a sudden there was a government announcement, we're hiring. It was over 800 officers at the time. And, of course, just having finished university, I was looking elsewhere at the time. But my family roots were back with the OPP. So similar to Inspector Josiah or Acting Superintendent Josiah, My family also had a policing and government background. So my mother worked for Ontario Hydro, and my dad was a serving OPP officer. So I'm a second generation member who's coming up to retirement. So I'm just coming up to my 30 years, and he did 32 and a half years policing as well. So again, it's been an excellent journey, and some of my background worked patrol for over 10 years. So again, there's like everything like that's where you're helping the community and getting involved with all sorts of people out in your communities and helping them from both connecting with services and also from the enforcement perspective. And again, there's the provincial highways, there's everything else that's on the go, and again, working in partnership with some of our municipal police services. So when you have multi-jurisdictional investigations on the go, these are the relationships that you're going to make and going to form, and a lot of them will last your career. So as you move on to other areas, that relationship building, that partnership building that you have will come back and serve you well. So I was able to work both crisis negotiations as well. I did major event liaison, so I was off for a year working with that, and then off to our headquarters here out of Orillia. So again, when you first joined, you don't exactly know where your path is going to take you. You may be career focused and very community focused, and a lot of these avenues will open up. So you set your goals, stay positive. It's that resilience, right? That's one of the themes here. Working through things, staying positive, staying healthy, focused on both yourself at work and at home and family, and then your community as well. So just having everything aligned, and that brought me up here working as an analyst in a few different roles, both on the corporate side and with professional standards, corporate communications. I had a role embedded with senior government down in Toronto, and then I'm over here in our technology side. So both in our communications center for a little while, with some other applications that provide direct support to the front line, and then here with our RMS unit. So again, we have worldwide partnerships here as well. We share a lot of tools with other police services, both throughout the United States, United Kingdom, Australia, and a lot here within Ontario. We're within a cooperative for information technology sharing. So there's dozens of other police services that we partner with, and we leverage all of that for community safety. So thank you for allowing me to join today.
Go ahead, Prash.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that's definitely a lot of places that obviously the staff has been a part of in terms of units and experiences. So thanks for sharing that. And I also see a few people joining us. For example, one of the members from Mexico says hello. They're watching from Mexico, joining us today. And obviously it's Carrie who mentions that her father is a retired OPP officer. So currently we have those support also. Maybe I'll start off with the first question to the panel. The one about what does Black History Month mean for you? Maybe you can share your personal thoughts on that, starting with Monique.
Okay. Black History Month, what that means to me. It's a time for me to reflect on the work that my predecessors have, completed to allow me to be where I am today. It's a time to really step back and recognize my privileges because of what they have done, because they have basically kicked the door open and left it open for me to be here, and to, be able to do some of the things that I'm able to do. For example, becoming a police officer, as simple as even voting or even purchasing a house. Like, it's just that time to reflect, on what it is that those before me have done to allow for me to be here today to do what it is that I'm doing. So I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for this time where we can, because a lot of times we, go throughout the day, go throughout life, and sometimes we tend to forget. But having this month, it brings back the focus on why is it that we're here and how is it that we're able to do what it is that we're doing, because again, someone went before us and paved that path. So I'm very grateful for this time where we can again look back and celebrate Black History Month, celebrate our predecessors.
Awesome.
Thank you for that, Monique. And before I get to the that same question, we have someone actually just asking a question here in the chat. And anyone could take this one. And it says, everyone has their moment or inspiration, and even backgrounds that have directed them to become an officer. And so the question is, what was your moment? So we'll start off with Inspector Josiah.
Sure. So I can start off there. So, I think this can tie in with what Black History Month means to me. So I agree with everything that Monique says. First of all, I believe that Black history should be valued every month of the year, every day of the year, much like all of our contributions, right, in society. But I do think it's important in the month of February to reflect on the significant contributions of Black Canadians and Black people really throughout the world over the last 400 years and beyond. And not just focus on the month of February, but since there is a month where we are celebrating Black history, I think it's a time to kind of, refocus and appreciate the great contributions that Black Canadians have made, and also to encourage and promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in all of our workplaces, not just policing or the government. So that's kind of my perspective on Black History Month and what it means to me. As far as what impacted me or what led me to consider a career in policing, I had a very negative experience, a few negative experiences with police as a youth. And I was involved in sports a lot as a child and youth. And that involvement in sport really provided me some resilience. And I believe that the resilience I had, coupled with the negative experiences I've had with police in my youth, led me to want to turn that negative into a positive. And I thought, and I believed I could make a difference by joining the OPP. And in short, I'm glad I did, because I feel like I have made some positive contributions throughout my career. So that's my backstory into how I got into policing and why.
Yeah, there are different things that happens in a person's life that make them make the decision. And this is not a job that everyone takes lightly, right? Although there's some experiences that may have shaped a decision, it's still something that you have to have a passion for, right? The job, because a lot of things come with the job, right? So great to hear your experiences and why you decided to do that. And so we'll go to Staff Browning.
Well, thank you. So again, since my father, was an OPP officer, from a younger age, I've always been thinking about, becoming a police officer. So I was one of the ones that did think about it all the time, even though it was something we never really talked about growing up, because I don't know if he was, fully supportive of that journey. So it wasn't actually until I was finished university, when I then, declared or was getting towards getting my BA, that I did announce that, I'm thinking about, joining the police services. So again, we had the conversation at that time, and Black History Month, having the time to reflect, look at the various journeys and, how far we've come, the various conversations that are on the go right now, the language that's changing. So we're seeing, our youth is questioning a lot of stuff that may be really embedded down in the foundations of our institutions, that I know myself, some stuff, you just accept it, and you don't really realize that, it's there anymore. But when you start to have these conversations, you're open-minded to the journey and the lived experience, right? So by talking with one another and seeing, how can we make society better? So policing itself is all about service, right? You're coming back and serving your community. So as a public servant, that is what we're doing each and every day. So this is where all your volunteerism and your community relationships all come back together to make you, a better person and a better police officer to serve your community. So for myself, it was from a much younger age, and I've always had that in mind growing up, and then I made it here today.
All right, so thanks. Go ahead, Brash.
No, I was gonna say, no, I don't even know if I asked you about this, Staff. What's your story? I don't even know if now I've been working with you for 4 years. I don't even know if I asked you how you got into policing. Maybe you can share that a bit here.
Well, policing wasn't my first choice, to be honest.
Really?
Yes. Growing up in Jamaica, which is where I'm from originally, you always looked up to teachers, Policing in that country wasn't, ideal. So growing up, you see all the corruption that happens, and then you hear about it from your own parents. So I never looked to that career while growing up in Jamaica. So I thought, the next career that I could do is teaching, because that aspect taught me how to be a good leader. It taught me how to be respectful, and so I thought, I think I could do this career when I get older, because I now look up to my teachers, because those are the ones that taught you all the things that you needed to know while you were growing up. But then when I moved to Canada, I started going to school here. And then I realized, back home living in Jamaica, and how the students interact with the teachers here are not the same. And then I realized I couldn't do this job here as as a teacher, simply because I know what you're supposed to do as a teacher from what's been instilled in myself. You be respectful to your teacher, you respect your elders, you do all those things that you are supposed to do when you are growing up. And I thought, okay, well, if I'm not going to do that, I need to find a job that's going to be allow me to still have that aspect of teaching and mentoring, motivating people, with the aspect of still making sure that people follow the rules. And then policing came up, and I was able to fulfill this career with both of those things. So this is why.
You know what? I don't recall ever asking you that question. I've been working with you for 3-4 years now, and I actually didn't realize what the background story was to why you joined. So that's actually pretty amazing. And we were talking about this earlier in terms of what we were going to um, talk about. We have 10 different areas of assessment when you go through the hiring process with us, and staff and I decided we're going to talk about the motivation and the special skills in terms of what we want to focus when we talked about with our panelists today. Um, when you were looking to apply, or we'll start with Monique here. I know certainly you came up through the civilian and the special constable ranks, but when you were looking to apply to the uniform position, were you thinking about, in terms obviously from the motivation side, and obviously from the special skills side, did you think that there was something that you brought to the table that made you competitive as a candidate?
Um, Most definitely. Uh, I'm naturally a person that works hard, a go-getter. So starting off as a civilian at the Collision Reporting Center, I knew that wasn't. I knew that wasn't it. I knew there was more. And, to tie in with what Staff Williams just mentioned, initially, policing wasn't my first go to. But I honestly have to say, having the opportunity to be around the culture from the CRC, working in the court office, and just seeing how everything comes together, just hearing the calls and seeing how people respond to the community, having a family member that is also a OPP member, just speaking to him, and he's always raving about the job per se, and all the good things that he's always talking, like all those just allowed me to kind of shift my focus to policing and say, okay, there's something here. um so just some of those, and just in terms of preparing for the actual job and being that go-getter, just really working hard and just educating myself, finding out what it is that I need to do, to be ahead of the pack, because I do understand that it is very competitive. So again, just finding out everything that I can, whether it's going online and doing my researching, or everyone that I came into contact with, it's asking those questions. How can I go about doing it? What can I do different? And just again, just educating yourself. I think that's one of the best things. I just did a lot of research, educate myself, and just work towards the goal, like just to make myself stand out.
Mhm. And it's come a long way since that time, Monique, right? With
Yes.
what you do now versus what we did in the past, right? And I think
Oh, definitely.
the audience on the call will definitely like to hear maybe a little bit of the past, what happened, what we did, to get hired as a police officer. And we'll start off with Staff Browning. Can you share some of your journey? How what did you do to prepare for this job?
No, thank you. Yeah. So again, I think things have probably changed a fair amount since then. But again, a lot of the substantial things or the substantive things are still the same, right? So, there's an educational component because you have to have the minimum grade 10. So, I went to university back at the time. There's the fitness component, all the work that you did, all the interviews that are done back from, former teachers. There's a whole wealth of experience that we're looking for in policing, and of course the background investigators are going to go and validate all that, the financial component, so all those other aspects that come together. And I know uniform recruitment has a wealth of information that are both on these platforms and your website that members can go to every day and have a look at as resource information. But you're right, it was like Monique was saying, talking with a lot of other people as well. So we didn't have the social media platform. So it was back to the old, investigative type activities that you would do, reaching out to people, having conversations with people, asking them the questions. And that's great throughout your career, because if you're in that learning and growth mindset and you can keep that throughout your policing career and even past that into your retirement. So this is where you'll continue to learn what your community needs are, to evolve and to respond to the changes in policing and within your respective community.
Thank you. Inspector?
Yeah, a lot of what John said, I can relate to. I went to university as well. I had a 4-year honors degree from University of Guelph prior to becoming a police officer. My thesis in my 4th year was on police race relations. And just ironically, as part of my thesis, I had to interview, or I did interview government officials and police officers, active police officers. And after I completed my thesis, I then went back and re-engaged with some of those officers to ask some questions that would help me prepare myself for the interview or the application process, including the interview for the OPP. So those are some of the things that I took advantage of, some contacts I had in the community. I also did a ride along, so that's something I would encourage current participants to do. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say, so, I applied to the OPP over 27 years ago. So the application process is a lot different now than it was then. But like you said at the beginning, Shernette, there are a lot of parallels, right? You have to be competitive. You have to be competitive, with your education, like John had said. You have to be competitive with your physical fitness. I was very active in sports and physical fitness, and I went out of my way to make sure I was in the best physical shape possible. And you have to be competitive, because for all the applicants or potential applicants who are on this platform, you have to realize that as good as you believe you are, and I'm sure everyone on this call is great at what you do and what you bring to the table, there's always going to be someone who's better, right? It doesn't matter how good you are. There's always someone who's better, stronger, faster, smarter. So you have to make yourself competitive. So you be the best in those areas that I've already mentioned. And what puts you, in my opinion, puts you kind of ahead of the pack, so to speak, is by doing some of we call them intangibles, right? Like some little things that other people may not do. So you may have more volunteer experience than other people do. You may have some, specialty skills that you bring to the table from another career, because, it's applicants these days aren't just coming out of university, right? They're coming from different jobs, different walks of life, existing careers. So don't sell yourself short. But also, when you're going through the application process, you have to be in a position to highlight those skills and how those skills are going to benefit the OPP when you apply. So I could talk about this forever, but I think the common theme that all of us, the officers on the platform, will tell you is make yourself as competitive as possible. Refer to the OPP website, because that is a great resource for how to prepare yourself to be competitive in this application process.
Yeah. That's
Thanks,
awesome.
thanks, Inspector. And I know we got a few questions about I think even the hiring. Even though we want to touch upon a few things, I want to answer one question asked about the application for the next hire date. Our next class is in April. So certainly we don't hire based on the classes. I would encourage that you submit the application when you think you're ready and competitive, and your file will be assessed for the next available class, if not the class after. So submit your application based on when you're ready, and you'll hear back from us certainly sooner than later. Go ahead, Steph.
Yes, and I just also want to, also someone brought up a question here about asking about, different roles within the OPP. I just want to say, yes, I mean, this is just to give you information about interested in joining, but you're
Steph?
certainly,
Can you hear me?
yeah, can you hear me? You can hear me fine? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
You can certainly ask questions about other roles in the OPP. And as you can hear from our panel, our guests today, that there's so many different opportunities with the OPP, so many different jobs that you can do. So yeah, feel free to ask any question about different roles within the OPP. And also another question, and I'm going to just throw this one out, and anybody could take the call on answer on this. So what challenges did you face in the past as a Black officer? This was one of the questions that anyone on the panel could answer. Anyone?
Oh, I'll chime in.
Okay.
Like I said at the outset, I've had some challenges, but I've had more successes and challenges. I can't specifically point to my race or background being a inhibiting factor in any success I've had on the job. And I attribute that to the fact of my own resilience, my own ability to, incorporate myself into different social settings. It really comes down to the individual. But to answer the question, if I've had any specific challenges based on my background, I can answer that by saying nothing that stopped me from achieving my goals. Doesn't matter who you are or what background you come from. You're not going to be liked or appreciated by everybody. I always let my work speak for itself. And when I did face adversity, I didn't let that impact my desire to achieve better things. So I think that's the best way I can put that.
Yes, and I would agree with that 100%. And you put it very well. And if I were to answer that question myself, and I will answer that question myself, and for me personally, in my role as a Black female officer, I have not had any challenges that as a Black female officer. Again, it's how you treat people, right? It comes down to it. It's what you see in yourself that you want to do in your career as an OPP officer. Everybody's experience is different. You may ask somebody else that's also a Black officer, and their experiences may be different, but it all comes down to that individual person, right? So.
And if you don't mind me adding to that, as Inspector mentioned, sometimes even if you're posed with the challenges, you just have to have that mindset where you're not going to allow those challenges to impede you. You're not going to allow those challenges to stop you or deter you. Like, you're just going to have that tunnel vision where you're going to, move beyond those challenges to get to where it is that you want to get to. Because all jobs have challenges at the ending of the day. Life has challenges at the ending of the day. But it's important where we don't allow those challenges to get the best of us. Just move beyond that and stay focused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excellent.
One of the questions that came in was for any questions that I think Giselle wanted to ask. Can you ask anything in related to hiring or anything to the panelists? Absolutely. It doesn't have to be specific to hiring. You can ask questions related to anything that you want to know about the panelists in terms of what their experience is, or even totally other questions related to policing as a broad topic. So thank you.
Someone was asking, would choosing all 6 detachments in HSD hurt my application? You choose where you want to go. Those are your preferences. You choose 6 preferences. And wherever there's a vacancy in one of those 6 preferences, that is where we would post you in one of your preferences. Okay.
Perfect. I'll move on to one of the other questions that we want to ask the panelists. In terms of, is there anyone that inspired you, whether it's individuals or group, to consider this career when you were at the office? I know inspector and the staff, it's probably a long time ago for you, but when you think back to it, is there somebody that you can pinpoint that kind of? I know you mentioned that your parents were in government roles, so that's probably an influence or a motivational factor. But anything that kind of sticks out to you that kind of you can recall?
I can go. For myself, I'm going to say one of the individuals that really inspired me on this journey was my brother-in-law, Sergeant Gentles. Again, he, being an immigrant coming into a foreign country, just seeing how hard he worked to be where he is today. He was always, again, one that was, motivating, coming home and just, sharing the great experiences, about the organization, just, again, really just kind of pointed me in that direction. And for his journey, I know initially when he applied, he didn't get through. Like it took, multiple, times before he was able to, get through as a constable. But that resilience just, really spoke volume, because he didn't give up on, not getting through on the one attempt or the second attempt or even the third attempt. He kept going at it. He kept bettering himself. Whatever he needed to work on, he did just that to make himself again, competitive. Until again he heard that yes, he didn't satisfy with the no's that he was getting, and whatever that again he needed to work on, that's exactly what it did. That exactly what he did. My apologies. That allowed him to be where he is, and that just really spoke volume to me. It made me see that yes, we can all do it. With the work. With the time, with the dedication, like we can do it. We can get to those goals.
Thanks, Monique. Thanks for that.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Question here. I'll jump in here before they ask. Does the OPP hire for such roles? I guess they're talking about disability management, claims management, disability coordination, etc. So I'll go off on that. So those are, I guess, HR roles that you're specifically talking to or referring to, probably civilian roles that you're looking to get into. We do hire civilian roles throughout the organization, whether it's at the detachment level or at general headquarters in Aurelia. But for those specific roles, you have to go through the civilian hiring process, which you can find at the Government of Ontario gojobs.on.gov.ca. You'll see listing for different jobs that we will post, or certainly you can even call the detachment hiring manager to see if there are any specific civilian roles they're hiring for. And based on that, you can submit your application, go through the interview, and be hired. But what I would suggest you do is go to the Ontario Jobs website, and there you can narrow down your search by location and the positions available. And that way you can apply for the right fit for you. Anything to add there, staff, on that?
No, I think you've covered it there, Prash. They just have to look on the Ontario website. That's where civilian postings are. And they will, if there's an opening, they can make sure that they tailor their resume for that position. Okay.
Perfect.
I'll add quickly if I could. So
yeah,
we also, for civilian data entry in our provincial communication centers, so they won't show on that Go Job stream. They're going to show on the opp.ca/careers civilian employment. So, no, that's great information. We've got detachment administrative clerks at our 180 plus detachments, province-wide, collision reporting centers, forensic people, collision claims folks. Like there's a whole wealth of different jobs out there. So yeah, for sure the Go jobs, but we also have those other ones for provincial communication centers, civilian data entry that we only do internally.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks for that, staff. Anything else you want to add there, staff?
Well, no,
Or
I was just going to go right to the next question there, Prash, about
yeah,
being in Georgian college program, the honors program there. Um, educate any education you have will help your application, right? It doesn't matter what program that you're in college or university. All we're looking for is what your marks are. Is going to help us determine how you're going to basically do at the police college, which requires you to get 75% in all of your courses. So it will, any education at all will help your application. Okay, as long as you have that grade 12, and anything after that is an added bonus to your application form.
absolutely. Yeah, thanks for that. I think we got more hiring questions coming along, one after the other here, but we're going to try to see if we can keep going with the panelists here. I'll answer one more. The next practice prep session will be coming on, but we haven't set a date yet. So certainly when the date is set, we will promote it on our social media platform. So please do look out for that. I think the ones we've had so far have been tremendously successful. So certainly we look to continue that into the next few months. So please do look out for that, and we'll let you know as the date's set. Okay. Um,
And
Okay.
the next part is about psych tests. Just we'll take one more question and we'll go back to the panels. When it comes to the psych assessment, you can't study for this, right? You're only going to give the best answer that it relates to yourself, right? You just got to be very open, very honest, and answer the question that is true for you. That is what you have to do for the psych assessment. And it all depends on what's going on in your life at the time will probably have an impact on how you answer that question. Okay, so make sure you come in with a clear head that day, and you are focused on the assessment that you will be doing.
So one of the questions that was asked in terms of frontline, how the frontline was. I know the staff and the inspector. It's been some time for both of you at the front line there, but maybe you can chime in on this. But this is focused towards Monique here. Monique, I think you're going into your second year at this point. You started as a civilian in the courts. What is frontline has been for you from a personal level, from a family lifestyle, and obviously just the role itself when you think about it?
Frontline has it's quite interesting. Some days clearly, again has the challenges, but I think beyond all that, it is a pleasure to excuse me, serve the community. It is a pleasure to go out there every single day and help those that are in need. Again, I'm from an HSD detachment, so dealing with collisions on a daily basis, we do quite a bit of that. Likewise, we do have the domestics or varied calls. So again, just being excuse me, just having that opportunity to go out and help the community, just meeting people on a daily basis, that brings so much joy to the job. And beyond everything else, just doing whatever you can do to make sure that you're safe. Regardless if it's policing or paramedics or whatever the job is, there is still a level of safety. So just going out there and taking into account everything that you've learned, put it into practice, and keep yourself safe, keep the community safe, and those that you work with safe.
Thanks for that, Monique. And Inspector and staff, anything that you can share on when you think back on your frontline experience?
Yeah, I'll chime in. Yeah, even though it was a long time ago. So last time I was in uniform was in 2002. Was the last time I was in uniform. But you know what? That doesn't matter. The uniform experience is timeless. Timeless in the fact that it's probably the closest kind of family type relationship you're going to have with your coworkers, because you're relying on your coworkers, your fellow officers, to support you and your life. Your life literally at some points can rest in your coworkers' hands, right? Because you're there to support each other. Some of the fondest memories I had were when I was in uniform, working the tough calls, having that teamwork experience, and it was a lot of fun, very memorable. I did work in uniform in a traffic detachment as well, and a general duties detachment in Caledon. My time in Caledon in uniform was brief, but there were equally valuable experiences. Just to kind of answer the question, I think someone was asking about the impact on families. So I started off in policing as a single person, and after a few years on the job, I got married and had a family, and was able to maintain. I still have a family and my spouse after all these years, and I will say, though, you have to have an understanding spouse or significant other, because shift work can be challenging at times. It is rewarding as well, and you do in the OPP, depending on the schedule you're working, you could get up to 4 days off in a row, which is great to spend with family, and to do extracurricular activities as well. So it really comes down to the individual, how you manage your time off duty. But I will say it's really important that when you're off duty from policing, that you go off duty and you spend as much time as you can with your family and friends, because you do need time away from policing. Because as much as I loved serving the different communities I worked in, you still need that time away to kind of decompress and value your family and friends around you and enjoy life outside of policing.
Okay.
Yes. Go ahead.
Having that work-life balance is really important, right? And as a police officer, right? So what you say, I echo every word that you've said there, Spectre. Having that is very, very important. And your support system, it always comes back to your family. I mean, there's your work family, and then there's your family. So as long as you have that support system, when you're going through anything, the career, having that balance is really, really good. Staff?
Oh, good afternoon. So thanks for that question again. Work in the front line. That's what we joined to do, right? So yeah, there's a lot of other career paths that may open up for us, but we're solely focused on becoming that uniform OPP member and serving our community. So a lot of great people that you're going to work with. You're going to have friendships that are going to last your lifetime, even post-retirement, and you get to know everybody's skills. So you're going to have people that are more passionate about traffic, and they may take collision investigative courses, and you rely on them, the domestic violence investigators course, and the various perspectives and the backgrounds that people come in. I know on some of the questions that are coming up, can I be hired from Quebec or from the East Coast? And for sure, we've got people. I was just talking to somebody the other day. Actually, both of them on the call were from Montreal, and they were able to speak French back and forth on the call. Folks from the East Coast. So for sure, everybody, you had that whole diversity. So not only could somebody have immigrated from another country, or their parents did, or from other provinces, you all become one as part of the OPP family, and we leverage all of our strengths and experiences going forward. So it really helps build our culture. So we have a great organizational culture. We're always looking to improve it. Things like Black History Month, time to reflect, look at what brought us here today. What changes do we need to make going forward? Because we're having these looks, we're having these discussions, is what's going to make us even better going forward.
Awesome. Thanks for that, staff. A couple of questions here that from a recruitment perspective. If you're a Quebec resident, can you apply? Yes, you can, as long as you meet the minimum standards, and the minimum standards we set in the OPP Hire website. So if you go to opp.ca/careers, we have the minimum standards that you need to meet. If you meet those qualifications, certainly you can apply. You do not, just because you're a resident from Quebec does not mean it takes you out of the hiring process for us. And the second question here, when going through the interview process, are there any services or source recruitment you could recommend to be better prepared for it. Absolutely. If you go on all of our platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, we have a lot of information on previous recruitment sessions that we've done, information sessions that we've done, and even if you go to the OPP Careers webpage, we have the frequently asked questions page that you can read over, which will better prepare you. And the most important thing that you should probably refer to is the area of assessment. We have 10 different area of assessment that you can refer to and kind of gauge yourself on where you stand as a competitive candidate. If you think you're able to talk to all different areas there, I think you're probably a strong candidate that you probably should consider applying to us. So have a read of that, and I think that will certainly prepare you as a for the interview process itself. Saf?
Yes, thank you for that, Prash. And, we get quite a few questions on the education piece here as well. And one is asking about a Bachelor of Arts major in another country. And I would say, yes, for sure. Get it assessed by World Education Services. That will give you that credentials. And so you submit that with your application form. And that will go in line with your education and component and what you need to submit that application form. So, okay.
Perfect. And you know what? We're almost at time. We got less than 10 minutes to go before we wrap up here. So we'll probably take a few more questions, and then obviously give our panelists to share their final thoughts on what they want to share, or in terms of anything that they want to talk about before we wrap up here. But go on. Anything you want to wrap up there, Saf, before we?
Well, this is again this month and throughout the year actually is a celebration of, but more importantly, February celebration of Black History Month. But is it something that's continuous throughout the year? So having this theme today and then bringing our members to discuss their role as police officers with the OPP. Thankful for them joining us today on our AMA. And so, before we close off, we'll have them, say a few last words, and maybe we could take another question or two, depending on if anything comes up after that. So we will start with Inspector. Do you have any last comments that you'd like to make?
I'm just going to reiterate some of the things I've already said. So thanks for this opportunity. I'm glad to be able to contribute a small part of this panel conversation. I'm honored to be included in this, especially that it's celebrating Black History Month. I appreciate the comments in the public chat, thanking us for our service. But I'll tell you, police officers don't often, if ever, look for that thanks. We get into this, and I know I can speak for myself. I got into this profession and this career because I do value the service that I could bring and have brought to my communities, and I've policed and served in different communities across my career. And all I can say is for prospective applicants to just take an internal look at yourself and just make sure that you're applying for the right reasons, and you educate yourself as much as possible about what it means to be a police officer. And, this is one step in that journey for yourselves as, finding out as much information as possible to see if, a career in policing is right for you. So continue to do this, participate in platforms like this, continue to ask questions of police officers who and don't be afraid to request a ride along even, and participate in community events where there's police officers present. There's a lot of volunteer opportunities in policing and other community organizations that you can take advantage of, and it will definitely assist you in making yourselves competitive for a career in policing. So thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks for that, Inspector.
Okay, Monique.
Once again, thank you so very much for allowing me to be a part of this platform. It is an honor. And I just want to, again, just encourage anyone who is, looking to, move into the career of policing. Again, just don't let the challenges hinder you. Just remain focused, do the work, educate yourself, and it is an awesome, like the Ontario Provincial Police is an awesome organization to work for. I am honored to be a part of it. And again, just do the work that is necessary, educate yourself, stay competitive, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks, Monique. Steph?
Oh, thanks as well for inviting me to help share with everybody today. Thanks so much for hosting the AMA series, and thanks to everybody who's joined. So again, just having your attention and asking the excellent questions that you've been asking throughout the chat, and letting us hook you up with various resources and other areas that you can look at. Listening to some of the answers that we're able to provide you today to help you on your journey, hopefully to becoming that Ontario Provincial Police Officer. So it's a lot of work, climbing that mountain towards the top, but once you do get to that top, it's an awesome view. So thank you so much for joining us today as well, asking your questions, and please continue to connect with the OPP careers site for additional information, and please keep working on your competitiveness. The more that you give into this process, the more it's going to pay off rewards. And then when you do, if you are hired as a police officer, you go work in your communities, or even as a civilian OPP member, it's going to pay dividends for years to come. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Any last words there, Prash? I'm going to a quote that I have there that I'll say at the end. Did you have any?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks again for our panelists, Inspector Desaya, Staff Sergeant Browning, and Monique. Yeah, appreciate your time and taking the time to answer some of the questions that came in. To the viewers, certainly we'll be back at the next AMA next Tuesday with another region running the event. If you have any questions, please do email us at uniformrecruitment@opp.ca. And certainly we'll be at many of the events in the GTA coming up with the auto show, the motorcycle show, the RV show. There's a lot of events that we will be at. You'll see recruiters there. So if you are out there, please come by to our booth and say hello and have a chit chat with us about the process, or even just to say hello. So look forward to seeing many of you there, and I'll turn it over to you, Steph. Final words.
Yes, and again, thank you to the panelists and our viewers who joined us today. But I would like to leave you with this quote that I came across, and I like it. And so for as you prepare for your career, whether it's policing or anything, I just want to say with this quote, like, if you fail, never give up, because fail means first attempt in learning. End is not the end. In fact, end means effort never dies. And if you get no as an answer, remember, no means next opportunity. And next opportunity is for you to, better yourself, better your application for the next time you submit that. So that way you can be a constable with the OPP. So it was nice having this session today, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.